Morning, good evening, good afternoon from wherever you're tuning in. It's your sis, Moon Magic, and welcome back, y'all, to Tea and Tarot, where we get together every week, Thursday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to vibe with our tuition and check in as a collective, pull some cards, and see what the vibes are. My name is Moon Magic. I'm an artist based in Sacramento. I've been pulling tarot since 2017 and also pull tarot monthly on my Patreon. For my Patreon members, they get a personal tarot reading, the highest tier, as well as one-off appointments for clients. So if you're interested in that, I'm going to go ahead and put my information down below. I'm primarily an artist as well. And I make hip-hop music. I'm a rapper, MC, producer, and you can find all of this at my website, www.moonmagicflows.com. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in the little pin right here, so you can go check that out, whether you're watching this on the playback or you're here on the live. And if you're interested in donating, you can donate at my Cash App at Moon Magic Flows, and my Venmo, which is also Moon Magic Flows. And as a full-time artist, every little bit goes to really help support me and sustain me as an artist. And especially now that I'm going back to school. But of course, I always say your presence and you being here is enough. But I'm going to go ahead and get that settled and put that here in the live chat. And then if you are watching this on the playback, it should be down below in the description box. And yeah, I make music and moods and melodies for all the different times in your inner world that you are going through. And then I also pull cards professionally. My artist name is Moon Magic, but I also call myself the Hip Hop Witch. And as you can guess, it's because I produce and make music predominantly in the hip hop genre, but also, dabble in a lot of the kind of witchy woo-woo type of stuff. And my primary focus being tarot, which is what I've done over the years, found myself being very drawn to, and it being a form of me being able to decolonize and connect to spirituality outside of like a white heteronormative framework and colonial framework, really, to be honest. So we're just getting started here with our tea and tarot, doing some check-ins. I'm gonna go ahead and take a little sip of my coffee. I see Pomona Goddess in the building. Hey girl, it's been so long since I've seen you. I hope you are doing well. Sending you all the love. So yeah, how's everyone's week going? What's the vibes been? What's been going on in your world? I know last time I came on here and checked in with you all, it had been pretty crazy for me. I had experienced my car breaking down, among other things. And it's just been a really busy last couple of weeks for me, to be really honest. Just went back to school on the 20th. School started back up, and also teaching the schools a lot. So just balancing the transitions in my schedule has been a big part of this week for myself personally. We also had our show on January 18th here in Sacramento at Golden Bear. That was a phenomenal, amazing show. Thank you to everyone who came through. It was such a vibe, and it just felt really, really good to get to connect in community, especially after having, gone through so many transitions and trials and tribulations these last couple months on a personal level. It felt really good to get to spend that time in community and celebrate the album release of Moving Different with you all together. Moving Different is my latest release. It's my self-produced album. You can check it out. It's on all platforms. It's also down below in the description box if you're watching this on the playback on YouTube. And could be found at my website as well, www.moonmagicflows.com. And aside from school going back into session and just working, that's pretty much been taking up all my time, to be honest. I mentioned also on the story that I've been putting into practice the thought hygiene conversation that happened with Courtney Chambers last week here at the Tea and Tarot space. So last week, Courtney Chambers came here on Tea and Tarot and talked about thought hygiene as well as habit stacking and Thrive codes and what that means to her and how to implement it for the everyday person, which is a big part of why I like to create discussions here on the Tea and Tarot space is to make spirituality more tangible in some of these, like, you know, because spirituality to me not only is a way to decolonize and connect to you know, my ancestors and my own self and higher power, but it's also a way to be able to practice good mental health for myself, and being able to make sure that that's accessible and we're really, you know, tangible with what we're talking about, is super important to me. So shout out to Courtney Chambers for coming through and having that conversation on thought hygiene. And one of the things that she mentioned on that video last week in the conversation was, you know, before you go to you know, you're in the bathroom, and before you exit, when you go up to the sink, right when you go to the sink, taking a moment to pause and take a deep breath in, relaxing your shoulders, trying to tap your big toe on the ground without moving your other toes, and then washing your hands and just like reaffirming whatever it is that negative loop is that's in your head, but the positive version. And I found that for myself this week, a lot of that negative loop is around feelings of feeling enough, and you know, I think everyone has perceptions of people and perceptions of ourselves, and it's really difficult when other people's perceptions do not match the perception that you have for yourself. So it's very important that you're clear with the perception that you have for you, and I think that that's what those little check-ins allow, is like that space for you to reaffirm that. And for me, the story that's been coming up a lot is around feeling like what I'm doing is enough, even if I feel like I'm running out of time, even if I feel like I'm not articulating myself the best, even if I feel like, you know, I could be doing better, you know, all the things, right? That just like what I can do in this time will be good enough. And not only is it good enough, but that it's worthy of X, Y, and Z things, right? So I'm curious for anyone else who might have been doing this little thought hygiene experiment with me from last week. Let me know what your experience has been, if you've noticed any positive shifts and changes. For myself, it's definitely been very helpful in, one, recognizing what that negative loop is, and two, being able to really like kind of nip it in the butt, so to speak. I don't think it's like helps it to completely disappear, but it's definitely making me very aware of it. And like I mentioned on my story, for those who might have seen it, I was talking about how aware it's made me of, like, even as someone who feels that they're very aware of the way that they you know, navigate in the world, there's still a lot of ways in which I navigate out of, you know, living in a capitalist society, and you know, feeling the need to survive and needing to hurry up and needing to, like, you know, be perfect, and all the things that I can see consciously like coming up in that kind of dialogue when I'm in front of the sink and washing my hands and doing that hygiene. So if you have no idea what I'm talking about, then definitely check out the thought hygiene discussion with Courtney Chambers from last week. It was a really, really good conversation, and it's really been helping me to really gain a little extra level of awareness of my thought space, and more empowerment over what I'm choosing to believe, and catching it faster rather than like waiting for it to become a problem, because it's this habit of like washing your hands, and you're like doing this little mental check as you're washing your hands and reaffirming whatever those things are for yourself. And I'm sure for all of us it's a little bit different. So like I said, anyone who might have taken the opportunity to tap into the thought hygiene and do the exercise, definitely let me know, either here on the live or the playback. But yeah, that's pretty much it for updates for me over here. It's been mainly just like getting my schedule together the last couple of weeks, because the week before the schools were back into session, so I was subbing at a lot of different schools, because I do that a lot for part-time work, and then also going back to school at Sac City, where I currently am in the audio engineering program. So between those two things, it's been pretty busy over here, among all the other, you know, commitments and assignments and gigs that I have as an artist. I see Sorcier is in the building. Shout out to DCM Society. What's up? Got one in the building. Hey, how you doing? We're just checking in right now. We're just kind of, you know, feeling the vibes. How's everyone doing? How's your week going? So if you want to share, got any projects happening, got anything going on in your side of the world, that you want to share with the good people here, I will definitely read the comment and share with everyone. Also, by the way, All You Need, the song that came out on the album Moving Different, my second self-produced album that I was just talking about, that we had the album release party for on Sunday. The official music video for that song, All You Need, featuring E.G. the Beast, is going to be dropping on February 22nd. So at 2:22 p.m. So mark the date, y'all. I'm real excited to have these visuals drop. We've been working on this video and getting it together and just really making it cinematic, you know. So shout out to TSE Forever, key videographer on the visuals, and EG getting that all together. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for updates. Don't think, yeah. Yep, I think that's it for updates. So let's go ahead and hop into our reading. And as always, I like to ground in before I hop into the reading. For me, it's great to kind of ground in myself as no matter what kind of busy day I had, to just make sure that my energy is clear, that I'm really making sure to take that time to ground in with myself. And then for you as the reader, I always feel like grounding in is so important, so that your discernment is clear and you know what messages are for you, and able to tap in also with yourself and see how you're feeling if you haven't so far. Our lives are so busy, so taking that little moment to just kind of, how am I feeling, is so nice. All right, so I do have my little sound bowl here, so we're going to go ahead and close our eyes if you're comfortable. If you're watching this on the playback, make sure you got your tea or your water, your journal, all the things you might want with yourself as you're watching this. And if you're watching this on the live or you don't want those things, just sit back and enjoy. And if you want to join me, you can put one hand over your heart, one hand over your gut area, or really whatever feels comfortable. Close your eyes and roll your shoulders back. And we're going to take a deep breath in through the nose. And out through the mouth. Thanking your guides, my guides, and the divine for this space today. Another inhale in through the nose. And out through the mouth. Just taking notice if there's anything specific on your heart, bringing that to the surface now. And if nothing's specific on your heart, just thinking of being open and allowing these messages to come in for your highest good. Another deep breath in through your nose. Out through your mouth. Asking that this time be a sacred container and be protected for this work and for your highest good. And so it is. Alrighty, you can open your eyes, shake it off. Alrighty, what y'all drinking today? If you got your tea or your coffee or your spicy drinks, whatever you got, let me know in the comments down below what you sipping on today. I think this is a Peet's Coffee. As I always usually mention, Peet's Coffee is one of my favorite brands of coffee. I just have always really loved Peet's Coffee. And it's a long day over here, so we sipping some Peet's Coffee. My third cup of the day. All right, let's go ahead and tap in and see what is the messages for the collective. I'm going to go ahead and drop this down so you all can see. And see what is the energy. We have 8 of Rods. I love that. All right, y'all. And you know how I like to get down on this. I like to allow you time to, Knight of Rods came out as well, so I'm going to go ahead and put this right next to it. I like to allow you all time to pause the video, or if you're watching this on the live, just take an opportunity to look at the cards, see what sticks out to you, see what there is that may be sticking out to you, may be calling attention to you. Any kind of intuitive messages, stories, something in this image that it stirs within. All those things are very important. I always say there's no hierarchy in tarot. So what you see and what you get from the cards and your own intuition is just as important as what I see and what I get from the cards. So let me know down below, what do you guys see in these cards? What vibes are giving you? And if you're here watching it on the live, feel free to add it in the comments and I'll read a few of them. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start with the 8 of Rods. I don't see any comments here in the chat, but feel free to add on later if you're in the live. So with the Eight of Rods, it definitely feels like coming in hot, which I love this energy because things are moving and flowing and in full force, which I always say, like, the time period from Christmas to like the New Year's is always like this very still, quiet. Things just kind of seem to stop. I feel like once January 1st rolls around, the second week of January especially, we start to see everything start to speed up. So we're definitely full force in this energy right now. I feel like this card is just kind of highlighting that. And I also think it's highlighting how a lot of things might feel a lot more faster paced for us right now. I feel like things might be getting busier. It might feel like, you know, you're constantly going from one thing to the next and not like really having as much downtime, especially after the holidays. It's this very like boom, 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 on to the next thing, fast paced energy. For some of us, you might be having calls coming in that you've been waiting on, you know, an application you put in months ago that you're getting a call back for to get that job. You know, this could be hearing back on a roommate opportunity. This could be, you know, maybe you've been like trying to get on a date with somebody and they haven't, you know, seemed like they weren't interested, and now all of a sudden they're coming back around and they're like talking to you again. You're like, oh, wait a minute. I see Courtney Chambers is in the building. What's up, girl? I was just talking about our convo last week and how much the thought hygiene habits have been really helping so much. But yeah, I feel like for a lot of folks here, this Eight of Rods really represents this fast-paced energy and things kind of moving and going in that kind of direction that you want it to go. It did come up upright, and usually upright, it's a very positive energy typically. This could also be like if you've been working on a project or been working on some sort of something, and maybe you during the holiday season especially were like up against a wall, up against a lot of pushback, just like wasn't really seeing a lot of progress. This is the time period where you're going to have leaps in faith, of like huge jumps of progress happening, where you're like, oh, okay, we are making progress, we're getting somewhere. Okay, I know it seemed like we weren't getting anywhere for a while. I wasn't sure if I should just abandon this altogether, and now it's like, okay, now we're seeing that progress. Now we're seeing kind of the blessings coming in, the messages coming in, the email coming in, like I said, the news coming in, that person you've been waiting to hear back from responding, etc., etc. And just overall, especially with this Knight of Pentacles energy here too, it could feel like during this time period, like things are starting to feel like, you know, as busy and as fast-paced as it might be, it also, at the same time, may feel like things are actually kind of back on track. If you were feeling a little bit off track or lost or just like uncertain about what you were doing or where you were going, this could be an energy in a week for the collective where, you know, as difficult as it's been, as busy as it's been, it kind of feels like you're like, okay, I know I got to do this, and this is the way we got to go. This is the direction we're headed. These are the things that we're doing. It's like making sense. I don't think that means that the energy is like less heavy or less hard or less difficult, the work, which I know a lot of that energy of the work being a lot came through in last week's collective reading. But I think that energy has become channeled to understanding its place a little bit more and seeing the vision of it, especially with the Knight of Pentacles, which the Knight of Pentacles for me is always about long term. It's always about like the things that we're building to last. And the most frustrating thing about the Knight of Pentacles, because Pentacles move the slowest, the Knight of Pentacles is like the slowest card in the deck. So it's like, these are the things you've been working on for like 10 plus years. These are the things that are going to take 10 plus years to physically manifest. And so it can be a very frustrating energy because, as you can see, the dirt behind him, this person here is like, it's barren, but obviously it's been plowed and the seeds have been planted. They just haven't come to the chickens haven't come to roost, so to speak, right? Like the plants haven't come to be grown with flowers and all the things, right? And so it can be a very frustrating energy when you are working very hard and, you know, things are seeming to be moving towards the direction of that goal that you're working towards, yet you haven't really gotten the payoff. And that's kind of the energy that we're in going into this week. So while you might feel a little bit more positive about what you're working towards, what you're putting in, you know, where things are going, like, okay, the direction is making a little more sense. Maybe you did get that call that you've been waiting on, but the actual payoff of whatever it is that you're working towards may not have come in yet. But I do feel like this energy here is a reminder that it's slow moving goal. Like, even though the Eight of Wands is a very fast energy, the actual goal itself and the thing that you're building towards may be a lot longer term, long plan type of energy. So with these two together, It's definitely giving that swift movement, lots of things moving, lots of things happening that are for the betterment for your future, for the betterment for the long term of whatever your goal or plan is. And you may have not exactly gotten the complete payback, but you're definitely seeing leaps and strides moving forward towards that goal in a positive way. That's a way that this energy might come through. I see Courtney said, hi, gorgeous. Courtney said, really, I've never heard that about Pentacles moving the slowest, so curious to learn more about that. Yes, so shout out to Jessica Alexandria from Bahati Life. That's my tarot school teacher. I was taught by her tarot, and from what I was taught, Pentacles are the slowest moving energy in the tarot, especially if you're looking for things like time. Like if you get a question from a client, like, when is this going to happen? If the King of Pentacles comes through, and be like, girl, strap up for a long ride, because it ain't happening tonight, that's for sure. Where things like the swords is a faster energy. I believe it's the swords that is the faster. Swords and the fire can be a little bit slower than the swords, but it's faster than the pentacles, because fire is like heat and passion and energy like that. It also can burn and disappear as fast as it comes, right? So like you might get a lot of energy if you're like looking at something and you get the rod's energy. It could be something where like the Eight of Rods here, right? It's like it's coming in hot, but then it might leave as fast. It's not as promising. Where the Pentacles is more slow and steady, but it does take a very long time for it to come. And then the Water is also kind of like that in between middle energy. Swords is like fast, like you're gonna get it today. When the Knight of Swords comes in, that's like you might get the email tomorrow, you might get the email in the next hours. If it's Knight of Pentacles, that's like you're probably not going to see that for a few years. At least months, depending on what the question is. But of course, that's just like, one interpretation and what I was taught. I'm sure there's other interpretations out there. And then the Water, it's a little bit faster than the Pentacles, and faster than Pentacles, but slower than the Swords, and it's more fluid, as in it's not as concrete, so it's not as like built to last, so to speak. It's kind of like house on sand, so to speak. So the Pentacles is one of the best energies in terms of like what you're building, especially if this comes up for like career, your goals as an entrepreneur, your goals as an artist, your goals as a career person, your goals in your job, your goals financially. Knight of Pentacles, King of Pentacles, both of them are really good cards for that, but they're also reminders like, you're talking about generational wealth. A lot of times you might see the Ten of Pentacles too. It's like that's stuff that takes years and years to build, and a reminder that it's not going to happen overnight. So anyways, this is kind of the way that this energy is coming through right now in this moment. I really love this for us because I feel that the last couple weeks have been very difficult for many of us. There has been a lot of trials and tribulations and a lot of stagnant energy, so to speak, and not a lot of forward moving progress towards our goals. So I feel like this is a lot of forward moving progress towards our goals, and a lot of just forward moving energy in general, that feels like a little bit more like, while the work might be hard, you might be feeling like it's making sense what you're putting that work into, whether you've received the full payback or not of that work. It's like you're starting to see, okay, I know that this is what I need to be doing. I know that this has a purpose. I'm not just like throwing stuff at the wall and hoping that it sticks. I now have like a method to the madness, even if I haven't seen completely it come to fruition. It's making sense. I'm seeing the picture come together. For imagining us painting a canvas right now, right? It's like before the last couple weeks, we were probably just maddeningly throwing paint at the canvas, trying to have something show up and make sense, and nothing was making sense, and we're just throwing a bunch of paint and hoping to some kind of image pops up. It's like now you're kind of seeing the image, okay, like you're seeing it take shape. It's like, ooh, okay, getting little quick flashes of what that image might be, but it's not completely done. The canvas hasn't been completely painted. So there's still a lot of work to be done, a lot of movement that is needed, a lot of movement that's coming in. This is kind of the energy of this week. Apply it to how it fits to whatever aspect of your life. I'm going to go ahead and pull some advice cards and see what actually, this really makes me want to pull a Lenormand deck, because I feel like the Lenormand card will really help us to hone in on how this energy may be applying. So like, pause 1 second. Grab your tea, coffee, journal. Breathe in through your nose, out through the mouth. Alrighty. Here we go. I've been bringing these cards a lot more to this space and felt called to go grab them because I feel like they've been given a lot of extra sauce. So let's see what they say in terms of how this could be applying to your life right now. Pay extra close attention to any of the things that stick out to you. I've mentioned before that these decks kind of give like a lot of different information. So if it doesn't apply, don't try to make it fit. Ooh. Coffin. Okay. That's the number 8, if the number 8 means anything to you. And I know this card is a lot about change, and it could be physical death, but it also could just be like transitions as well. It could just be seasons. It doesn't have to be something scary or anything like that. So definitely don't make it fit in that way if it's not the case. Okay, it says the coffin, or in this case the cemetery card, points to an end, a goodbye, and letting go, which is currently inevitable. Transformation and change are at the forefront of this card. An end can always be both a good ending and a difficult situation, or it can be sad for things that you have longed for. However, when this card shows up, it does not come as a surprise. Other things that this card can represent is depression, standstills, and personal development in life that's forced through suffering. Something is coming to the end. At the same time, there is room for something new. Loss, rest, persistence, plans falling apart, and reinventing yourself. This could also mean the natural end of a relationship, and knowing that it cannot go on like this. Being on the wrong track, drawing consequences, new beginnings, a good time to bring something to an end, closure, dealing with the end, and asking yourself honestly, what would you want to do in your life if you knew your life would be over soon? Don't procrastinate on the important things that we often will regret later. How many opportunities have you already dissolved in your life on the basis of supposedly secure thoughts or thoughts of what you were supposed to be doing? Interesting. Yeah, so definitely take this as it resonates. My immediate thought when I saw this card was that I know that the lunar calendar, we're coming up on the new year, which means we will officially be going into the year of, is it the year of the dragon? What year is it? It's the year of the horse and not the year of the snake. So we're coming on the end of that. So I definitely can see that like fresh energy coming through, which at the tail end of fresh, I guess, at the beginning of fresh energy is the tail end of old energy, if that makes sense, right? A season had to come to an ending for a new season to come to a beginning. So it could be significant of that. And any other kind of energy that this might be significant for, if anything resonated, I would definitely take that as a message for yourself. And I know we're also coming up on the tail end of the last like month and a half, right? 2 months, last 2 months of winter. So you might be seeing a lot of that kind of energy closing out, and February time in bulk time is the time of like the new fresh buds of the spring before spring. So it's a very much a time of beginning and ending. So you might be seeing this show up in many areas of your life. But like I said, if there's any messages that specifically stood out for you, definitely take it as it resonates. All right, let's go ahead and pull some advice cards and see how the cards are advising us to navigate this energy. We have Ace of Swords. I love that. And we have the Moon card and the Wheel of Fortune. Interesting. I'm going to give you all some time to vibe with your intuition. Let me know what you see. Let me know if there's anything that sticks out to you. Immediately I with the Ace of Swords, I thought about gaining mental clarity over something. This definitely can resonate with the thought hygiene if you've been doing the thought hygiene exercises with me or the experiment with me. But then I saw this Wheel of Fortune reverse and the Moon card reverse. And with the Wheel of Fortune and the Moon card reverse, it definitely gives me this vibe of like being in a place of not knowing where things are going to go, and like everything becoming all too much and having been all too much for way too long. So with this energy coming in as an advice card, I feel like you might be experiencing like a mental break from that in a positive way, not in a negative way. So, and this could be showing up as like if you've been for a very long time feeling confused about where things are going. If you've been for a very long time just feeling like you're in the muck of the world, the muck of yourself, and in a depressive type of episode in your life, or just feeling like overwhelmed, overworked, underappreciated, undervalued, undersupported. And it's just been like, when will this end and where is this going? And I can't take this anymore, right? I feel like this these cards combining right here with the Ace of Swords is letting you know that break, like having a mental break from that in a positive way, is coming very soon. And I feel like this is here to let you know that like there will be an end to this time period if this resonates for you and this is the energy you've been in. This is not the end all be all. You will not be in this energy forever. You are not going to be in the shadow period, so to speak, forever. And there is a light at the end of the tunnel. So I see this as a more of a positive message of holding on despite the current circumstances looking very gloomy, with the Moon card reverse, having working on the whether that's your own personal shadow work or the shadow work of the world, the shadow work of the collective. I feel like there's been a lot of themes of this that we could see politically, spiritually, globally, and so on. And sifting through all of that, and the Wheel of Fortune reverse of not knowing where you are going to go, and it feeling like almost like crashing out, right? Like absolute chaos. And I definitely can see these themes playing out on the personal level, political level, social level, or interpersonal relationships, you know, trying to keep everything together, trying to do the right thing, trying to, you know, wade through the difficult waters, so to speak, and day in and day out, and it becoming this like spinning out almost. And with the Ace of Swords here, I feel like it is a very powerful like break from these like dark gloomy clouds, and letting you know that there is an end in sight, and giving you hope to continue to push through, and also to focus on your mental health and mental clarity during this time, because Ace of Swords for me also really, really represents a lot of times like a clear mind and mindfulness and having like good mental health. So if this is an energy you feel like you've been in where it's just feel like it's been very chaotic and very difficult for you to see anything really, right, then this also could be advising you to take some time to really focus on doing and building some habits that are healthy for your mental health. So shout out to Courtney. Maybe that's you know, connecting with her on some thought hygiene, or maybe this is something as simple as like making sure you're taking some time to go outside for a walk, and building in, you know, little moments in your schedule throughout the day to journal, or to, you know, take a couple deep breaths, you know, do things that are going to help you to feel better. Taking time away from social media, that's a big one, especially if you're just scrolling and you're, you know, it's not something that you're like, no, you're not getting a positive benefit from, something that's making you feel bad about yourself. Maybe this is disconnecting a little bit from, other people who might be, you know, not so good to you, maybe family members you take care of, or, you know, things like that. Definitely take it as it applies. But it feels like this is really asking you to prioritize having a clear mind and having a, like, looking at things from a very logical standpoint as well. During this time period, I think is also very important, so that your mind's not tricking you into being like, this is the end, what's up, you know. But like actually really like, okay, this is like what's going on today. These are the facts, you know, let me take a deep breath. Let me focus on what I can physically do. Let me focus on the tangibles. Let me focus on what's in front of me right now, and not like get ahead of myself and start crashing out in these like watery, subconscious, dark pathways of my mind and the world and social media. And like, especially if a lot of like what is making you feel negative is not what's going on in your physical day-to-day, but something that you might be viewing online or conversations you're having with people or things like that, then this might be direct advice. Like, you might need to take a break from that. And not because it's not important to have those conversations, not because it's not important for you to be knowledgeable about what's going on, but because it's actually like having you crash out a little bit. And we need you to have a clear, healthy, positive mind, clear, healthy, just clear and healthy mind, so that you can really tackle things from this perspective, seeing things for what they really are, rather than from a perspective where, we're living in uncertainty and fear and making decisions based off of lack and fear and being scared. And I think a lot of us have been kind of running on this, myself included, with everything that's going on in the world, everything that's happening economically, everything that's going on in our environments, everything that's going on in our personal lives. It's very easy to be like almost sucked into this drama of the world and the drama of the shadowy aspects of things right now, to where it's, got you crashing out, in ways that can have us lose sight of like what's right in front of us and the tangibles, like given like anxiety attacks. So maybe some of you might be having panic attacks, things like that. Then this is like a very good example of maybe watching what it is that you are watching and consuming also, right? That could be sugar intake. It could be any kind of foods, maybe something that's like got you feeling heavy and bloated and overall affecting your mental clarity. The advice is to really pay attention to what those things are and to put your mental clarity and mental health first, so that you can be a better service to those things that you really care about and those things that you really believe, and not, making decisions from a place of bad mental health where you might be doing more harm than good. And Courtney says, were those inverted? Yes, they are reversed. So usually reversals mean that there's a distortion of the energy. From what I was taught, I know some tarot readers don't do distortions or reversals. I do it based on what other cards I see in the spread and the way that the energy and the message is kind of playing with each other. And traditionally, the Moon card upright is a card all about shadow. It's all about the subconscious mind. It's all about the kind of darker aspects of life. It's Scorpio energy. It's the intangible, immaterial, kind of otherworldly, spooky aspects of things that we can't really explain. And with it reversed, it could be significant of this kind of energy taking over a little too much, to where it's not healthy, right? It's always healthy to have a certain level of balance of dark and light, of understanding our shadows, of, working with our subconscious, of, addressing the biases within us, or looking at ourselves, both good and bad, and really acknowledging those shadows of ourselves, of the world, of etc. and so forth. But when it's reversed, it can become excessive to the point where it might be doing really, like, this could look at like self-harm, actually. Like maybe you're putting yourself in harm, or you're harming yourself, or you're harming others, or doing something that is actually now like, it's like, when you're traumatized to the point where like now you become the same person who traumatized you, if that makes sense. That's kind of what this energy is giving me. So that's where it starts to get into treacherous territory of like, now that you might be in survival mode and might be really triggered, and you might be reacting and doing things out of survival mode and being triggered, which is never a place we want to be, regardless of whether we have, all the right to feel that way, of course, right? But it's not the place. The advice here is to like make sure when you're making decisions that you're not reacting from a place of being triggered and traumatized and just like reacting, and instead doing it from a place of like mental clarity. And the swords is also very logical. Like, it's not an emotional card. The swords represent that kind of like logic versus emotions. So making sure that you're really, balanced out all the facts, balanced out all the standpoints of, whatever it is, you don't want to, this could be like an energy also, like you're making a like split second decision on something and you make a poor choice financially, and at the end of the day it was because you're in this kind of survival brain and weren't thinking of the long term, whatever it may be. And for everybody this is going to look different, right? This is a general reading, but this is just advising us to be mindful that we're not, you know, operating from this kind of place, because this can be a very scary place to be, especially if you're making important decisions in your life, or interacting with other human beings, which I'm sure most of us are doing on a daily basis. This could be a place where you really say or do something that could be really harmful to someone else and not mean it, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I don't even know why I did that, right? And then you realizing, oh, I'm really stressed out, and oh my gosh, I needed to like take a second, you know? Because the Wheel of Fortune upright is usually this energy of us not really knowing where we're going. The Wheel of Fortune is like the wheels of life, the karma of life is the wheel is spinning and we don't know where we're going to go. And that can be a very positive thing. It could be a very scary thing. And a lot of times with this energy, it's this idea of just kind of having to ride the wheel and see where it goes. And with it reversed combined with these other cards, it feels like it's kind of become this, like, we're kind of scared of where it may go and things are feeling out of our hands and it's giving crash out vibes. So with these two combined and this combined, if this resonates, I feel like this is just really, really asking us to pay attention to our mental health and take things a little bit slower. You know, it's just like taking that extra breath before responding. This is like, if you are going back to that 8 of Rods, feeling like you have a lot on your plate, this is saying no to something so that you can take some time to like take care of yourself. And I know for everybody that looks a little bit different. You know, some people may feel like they don't have anywhere in their schedule that they can even allow that to happen. So within that, right, it's like all about sustainability as well. Because if you're not sustaining yourself to be able to make good, sound decisions on a day in and day out basis and to take care of your mental and physical health, then it's not sustainable, right? And unfortunately, we live in a system and society that doesn't teach us about sustainability of our mental and physical health. And so we have to really advocate and empower ourselves to create that in our lives. And I see this as like a reminder of that, especially during these times where things can be very turbulent. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pull some oracle cards. And if anyone has anything that those messages have resonate for them or anything like that, let me know down below. Just one card, see what comes out. And of course, as always, take what resonates and leave the rest. Oh my goodness. Not a multitude of cards. Okay. Look at that. The Goddess of Psychic Protection. Definitely giving protecting yourself, protecting your mental health right now. Protecting your mind, body, and soul. This could be like a parent or somebody who like you listen to and you just know after every time you talk to them, like it just makes you feel so bad about yourself. And like, you know, you could like technically not answer, but then you feel like a bad kid if you don't answer them and like a bad person. And this is like that reminder that like, no, don't answer. Don't answer the phone this week. That's the vibe that's giving me. Maybe it's like you're dating someone and you see this red flag of them like having some kind of behavior that's just like off the wall. Don't ignore that. Don't ignore that. Angel of Self-Worth and the Angel of New Life. A lot of cards coming in about beginnings and endings these last couple weeks. All right, let's see what else is on here. Got like a million cards just want to flap at me. Just give me one card. And if you're interested in getting an individual reading, like I mentioned before, You can go to my website, www.moonmagicflows.com, and book a reading on my Etsy, or join the Patreon and get a reading from me each month. Come on, just one card. You said, girl, they're jumping at you today. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's the energy. Like, as soon as I started pulling for advice, that's the energy of, like, this is, like, you know, don't go so fast that, like, something jumps at you in the real world and you're not taking the time. Like, be aware of your surroundings. Like, this is, like, going so fast that, like, you leave your bag on the subway. Like, you know, and that's, like, the energy that it's giving me. And it's just, like, advising us to be mindful of that. So you're not, you know, leaving your keys at the coffee shop on accident because got a million things in your brain. I focus on what is working. Love that. Demon Voice says, salute, hello. Hi, welcome. Destruction. Definitely giving them vibes. And I think that's it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and read 2 of these cards because these cards just kept popping up. Let me put this, like, right here, though, so it's, like, covered up. Wait. Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and start with the Angel of New Life and the Angel of Self-Worth. All right, the Angel of Self-Worth. You are currently undervaluing yourself. It is time to regain your self-worth. You are so much more than what you are portraying to the world and those around you. Excuse me. The Angel of Self-Worth is here today to reflect onto you all the beauty, love, and light that you are, and to help you regain your sense of self-worth. I say that as I'm burping. Anyways, feel her healing light penetrate your aura this very moment and affirm to yourself. Say to yourself, I am a being of light and love. I love and value the many wonderful qualities I possess. From this moment forward, I will honor and value myself, all I am and all I do, in the knowledge that I am part of God's creation. I am worthy of love, and repeat this affirmation several times each day, either out loud or in silence of your heart, or when you're doing your thought hygiene hand washing. Reflect upon each word and truly believe and own each one. Express each word with all your heart and soul. As you begin to value yourself, you will find that others start to value you. I love that. Angel of New Life. An exciting new chapter in your life is about to unfold. The Angel of New Life is here to announce that a new chapter of your life is about to unfold. Over the coming days and weeks, you will begin to feel a sense of renewed clarity, purpose, and direction. New, magical, and exciting things begin to happen as you are intuitively guided to explore new avenues and possibilities for your life. Through this process, you will uncover aspects of yourself that you didn't know you had. Embrace this new and exciting period of your life and know that the past is now behind you. Your life is forever changing and you are forever evolving to greater spheres of light and love through the wondrous spirit of creation. Enjoy the journey and all the blessings coming your way. Love that. It's also giving me the vibe of the 8 of Wands, like I was saying in the beginning, and even the vibe of what I was saying from the advice card of like making sure you're mentally clear. When you're in the 8 of Wands kind of energy of like things starting to pick up, of like a lot of things happening, of you moving so fast, it's very easy to also get pulled in a lot of different directions. It's, you know, it's very easy to lose focus on what it is that you're working towards. It's very easy to get lost in the sauce, so to speak, because all these things just start moving and it can be overwhelming, or it can have you forget what's not prioritizing, you know, things like that. So it can also relate in a way of just like making sure you're prioritizing with your time and your energy, making sure you're not saying yes to things that don't align with that are distracting, that are not, matching your worth, right? Things like that. It doesn't have to be like completely crash out, like a scary type of energy. This energy can show up in many ways. It can be something as simple as like, you know, you're getting a lot of offers maybe and responses, and knowing which ones to respond to, which ones to say yes to. Even just like people in your friendship circle, and realizing that those dynamics are shifting, and realizing that some of the friendships and alignments of values have changed and shifted, and It could be something like, these were your friends that you hung out with and partied with, but your values aren't one that you want to get together and party all the time. And you're realizing that you got to say no to those things so that you can prioritize what it is that you are focusing on. So definitely take it as it resonates, okay? Demon Boy says, a Subway sandwich sounds good right now. It does, doesn't it? Hey, I'm kind of hungry, not gonna lie. All right, destruction. Let's go ahead and see. What y'all have for dinner tonight? I had some chili for lunch. I haven't had dinner, but I don't know what I'm gonna have for dinner. But y'all got me hungry. Okay. Destruction. Here it is. And this card is very on par with the energy of beginnings and endings and how important that relationship is and how at the ending is a beginning and at the beginning is an ending because they're connected. And so this card, Destruction, says this card indicates that a choice must be made. It asks you what needs to die today. Maybe it's a limiting belief, an old inherited pattern, or a toxic relationship. Whatever it is time to let it go. Sometimes once we identify with what it needs to let go, it's easy to slip from us. Other times, it's a slow cycle of releasing time and time again and loosening the grip of our attachment. Be kind to yourself in this process. We establish attachment to things that do not serve us, but knowing something doesn't serve us does not mean it is easy to let it go, especially if it has become a part of our identity. This process requires patience, practice, and self-compassion. I really feel like this right here is the drive home force of the reading, especially if we're in a period of where you're seeing more energy, more things happening than what was happening before. You might be frustrated by, even though you're getting newer opportunities, you might find yourself slipping into old patterns of being, and you're trying to, push forward these goals, and you're getting these opportunities, but you're still like battling these older patterns of ways of existing within yourself, right? So this definitely, I feel like, is the driving force of today's message and what it's asking us to really pay attention to. In the muck of it all is realizing that some things cannot come with us, right? Courtney says, what needs to die today? I love that, right? The tarot can be a little extreme in the way it talks sometimes, but always remember its analogies. We're not talking about, physically, okay? A lot of times we're talking about metaphors. But of course, the tarot is can speak in many different ways. You know what I'm saying? All right, focus. This is our last card here. Stay. It says, and this card I really also feel like is the driving force of the message, because going back to what I was saying about mental clarity, and when you have all this energy moving after not having energy move for a while, it can be very distracting and very hard to have focus. And especially going back to social media and things like that, maybe it's not affecting your mental health, but maybe it's affecting your ability to focus. Maybe you're finding yourself struggling on focusing on what it is that you should be really paying attention to. And if we only have, let's say, 10 hours in a day, 12 hours in a day, right? Not including sleeping and eating and things like that, right? How are you spending that time? What are you focusing on? How are you using that time to the best of your ability? And whether that's, for you, just like having fun with your friends, right? It doesn't have to necessarily mean productivity, but it just means focusing on the things that are in alignment with the life that you want, right? And really having that kind of discernment, because we live in a world that is constantly trying to, telling us where we should put our focus. And a lot of times it's not for our better health, right? A lot of times the type of things that we're being told by social media, online, internet, friends, so on and so forth, to put our focus on is actually not for our personal highest good. And that discernment is very key. There's a difference between helping our community and helping our friends and, being codependent to something that is toxic. And a lot of times, especially people who come from codependent or abusive situations or households, have a very hard time being able to have that discernment and can make a martyr of themselves in a way that is to their detriment and to the detriment of what the causes are that they believe in. So really making sure to have that clear within oneself can be very helpful in focusing on the right things so that you're not wasting your energy focusing on things that are actually doing more harm than good. Demon Boy says, I resonate with the reading because I'm letting go of the idea of my ex and letting my old self die. And I'm 21 days sober now. Hey, congratulations. I love that. That's so awesome. Salute to you in that letting go, and congratulations on 21 days of sobriety. All right, I'm going to go ahead and read this. It says, emotions and thoughts are powerful. They can pull us in every direction. Really, this is like key to what the reading's been showing. If we're not aware of their strength, when we pay attention, we affirm our ability to more consciously direct them. In any moment, we can choose to make a positive shift and uplift our perspective. Focus on what is working in your life. Stop fixating on the imperfections. As soon as you notice your thoughts spiraling you down, call it out and shift gears. Keep adjusting your mind and choose a better way. Align your emotions with thoughts that make you feel lighter and happier. Use your imagination if you need to. Turn this into one of your most dedicated daily practices, and soon you'll experience incredible triumph, resilience, and well-being. Go for progress, not perfection. I love that. Total harmony in the body is greatly dependent on balance in the mind. What I say? Ace of Swords, y'all. Think healthy thoughts. I love how aligned this is with the thought hygiene conversation we were having at the beginning. Courtney just said it. Thought hygiene. Yes, if you have not checked out the thought hygiene combo from last Tea and Tarot, definitely go watch that. It's up on the YouTube channel after this. But I definitely feel like this drives home. Like, it's so important for us to really have good thought hygiene right now and to really make sure we're focusing on what is working, because there is so much muck going on in the world and everything around us. There's so much moving on. There's movements. There's so much chaos, right? Like, it can be pulling us in different directions. And that could be something as simple as, like, you know, you're trying to accomplish your goal and you're telling people about your goal, and a bunch of people are telling you all these different ways that they can help you with your goal, and having the discernment of knowing which of these things that people are telling me is actually just like leading me astray, and which of these things is actually helping me. And you got to cut through all that noise, right? And also, likewise, like, a lot of the things that we see in life is more negative than positive. And while I do not believe in toxic positivity, I also think it's very important that we're not just like looking and consuming a bunch of negative stuff online and negative stuff, like only looking at the negative things in our life either, because that's also giving us an unhealthy perspective of reality. You know, the reality is that there's good and bad, and sometimes things can feel a lot heavier. Sometimes things can feel a lot lighter depending on your life and your rhythm, but it's important to have a healthy balance of how we're looking at the world. So, you know, for our own mental health, because when we're looking at things from just a negative perspective, that's often when we are depressed, when we become addicted to substances, when we're not able to really be of any service to anyone or do anything about it and feel disempowered. And on the flip side, when we are not looking at any of the negative, we're only looking at the positive, then we're also not taking any action to really help the negative situations that are happening, and could be bypassing and not really be like grounded and rooted in reality, and you know, just like living in your own bubble, so to speak. And I do think community is also very important, and paying attention to what is going on in the world is very important, but it's also a balance for your own mental health and for the focus of what it is that you're working towards, and how can you best be the puzzle piece to complete, you know, your piece of the puzzle, so to speak, in the world, if that makes sense. And it's very important to be focused and honed in on what that is. And there's always going to be things in the world that are competing with our intention and our attention. So I think that's really the driving force message for this week's Tea and Tarot. I want to thank your guides, my guides, and the divine for this space today. I hope this message resonates and helps you with wherever you are in your journey. If you're watching this on the playback, drop a message down below and let me know how it resonates. And aside from that, I will see you all next week at Tea and Tarot. I believe we're going to have another special guest. I don't know if it's going to be next week or the week after. You'll see it on my story posted. But Cameron Love is going to be popping in for Tea and Tarot, and we're going to be having another live discussion. So definitely be on the lookout for that. Cameron Love is a phenomenal musician here in Sacramento and has been going through their own spirituality, self-discovery, and finding purpose. And we're going to be talking a lot more about different topics here on Tea and Tarot and bringing those kind of conversations here to the space. So definitely keep a lookout for that. Shout out to Courtney Chambers. I see she's still in the chat. Definitely make sure to check out her Instagram handle. And like I said, the combo we did last week. And if you have any questions about thought hygiene, definitely reach out to her at a DM. And I will see you all next week. All right, y'all. Have a good weekend, and I'll talk to you later.